All right, you guys, it is Thursday, 3 p.m., and we got a couple legends in the house today. I know Sasha's here all the time, but you were qualifying in some races today, so we're going to get into that. But most importantly, Charlie, man, what's happening?
Well, I'm a legend in my own mind, bro.
You're a legend in all of our minds. Anybody's ever seen you operate anywhere you are, the energy and how you carry yourself and your team at any of these expos, anything like that. And I think a lot of people know you from the expos, and they remember. I'm like, hey, Charlie's going to be on. They automatically know who we're talking about. It's amazing.
Thanks for having me. It's always cool hanging out.
So anybody that is listening to this podcast and can't see Charlie and you're not sure who he is, Charlie is the founder and owner of One Tap Connect, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, founder owner, but you are One Tap Connect, right? You're also the guy that cleans the bathrooms when you go there. So
right? Well, actually, you're damn close. Everything but.
So tell everybody about One Tap, and then I want to get into some of the stuff that we were going to touch on. But tell everybody about One Tap. This thing's evolved a lot since the day we met, into infrastructure and things like that. But tell everybody about One Tap, what it does, and what it's evolved into even since we met.
Well, basically, what we've now done is we've created a system, a piece of infrastructure that contractors can layer into their sales and marketing process. And, our whole belief is that trust is built before price is discussed. No different than our relationship. Someone referred me to you, called, we had a conversation, but, we built trust. You bought my product, I bought a booth at the show, and that was on the first phone call. So
yep.
What we're finding is that, especially in today's market, selling today is different than 10 years ago. Customers are no longer relying on a salesperson to educate them. They're online. They watch reviews and videos and things of that nature. So the buying process technically starts long before the sales process.
Yep.
And One Tap Connect basically allows you at the first point of contact to tap somebody's phone, text it to them in advance of the presentation or visit, and ultimately present on purpose, right? Everything's right there in the digital profile, so the client can look, dissect on their terms. I call it the yellow brick road. They can follow the yellow brick road and decide where they want to stop in the journey as far as what's important to them. So our whole concept of where we started and where we are now is very different. And I'd like to say we've now created a consistency tool that allows contractors to anchor trust and certainty at first point of contact and immediately engage people in the sales process.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. I just remember the first time I remember seeing you at work at the booth, and people were walking up and you grabbing business cards and ripping them up and throwing them in the air and over here. And by the time you're done talking to them, they're like, I want it. I want in. And even I went around last show with, on my side here, and I was never looking for business cards. I was tapping stuff everywhere I went. So I know it works. I know there's a learning curve of getting your salespeople to, understand the process and go, and it's not a business card. It's more of like an infrastructure, on how you're going to handle your sales and stuff like that. And you build, it's not just that data that you're getting, like a name and a business contact information. It's an actual mini kind of website description of who you are and to help build trust. So I know it works and people love it that are using it.
Yeah, it's really a digital identity profile that we've built for sales teams. Here's the bottom line. Contractors believe they have a lead problem. Many, not just contractors, many business owners, right? They have a lead problem. And in reality, it's a trust consistency problem. Because if I went out with, 5 salespeople at your operation, and I'm just using you as an example, chances are I'd probably get 5 different experiences. Yeah. And what we've now done with calling this a piece of infrastructure that gets layered in to your sales and marketing process is we don't want the customer to receive a different experience from 5 different people, because now revenue is going to become unpredictable, or you're depending on your top salesman, right? At Hello, whether you tap the phone, whether you text this to them, whether you send it digitally or through a QR code, when that pops up on their phone, your digital infrastructure of your Acme Fence Company or whatever the name of the company is, the objective is nothing has to be explained. The customer can scroll through, look at your products, services, reviews, videos, testimonials, product catalogs, spec sheets, whatever it is, and now start asking you questions that are important to them, which, if you think about it, shortens your sales cycle. Yep. Because now you're telling me what's important to you. I'm helping you solve that problem. I'm showing you the truth, authenticity, and proof that I can deliver the end result. And that hello, right, anchors the trust and certainty to create the momentum to where now you don't have to close the deal.
Yep.
They're following the yellow brick road that you've paved for them, and you're showing them the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it becomes a lot less of a push to get the deal. It just becomes a natural progression where they want what you have.
Yeah. Sash, when you have a team of salespeople that go around, and and you're like all of us, we struggle to keep the consistency across everything from email. I mean, it comes down to consistency across the board, your branding, right? And you'll go to find out that the email signatures, and for some reason, half your team is changing their email signatures from the other half of the team. And then you get an email from them and you're like, well, that's outdated. That event was like a month ago and you still got that on there. And by the way, you're using different fonts. You're using our old logo instead of our new logos. And have you experienced any of that kind of stuff? When I think what you helped do, Charlie, is bring this branding together and make sure that this equal message is going across your company.
Well, I'll let Sasha answer that, and then I'll piggyback if he has.
Yeah, I think the biggest is trying to keep that consistency. So the branding is very uniformed, and it's not like you were saying, someone's doing this. And I get it all the time in my team. All of a sudden, they've changed their font, and it's like, it just doesn't flow with our company and what we're trying to maybe portray. I think the other thing, Charlie, too, is from a company's perspective, like, it's how do we track why we actually lost sales? I think a lot of companies, myself included as an owner, that we might think we're losing sales for this particular reason, but it's actually not. Have you, tell us a little bit about that side of what you do and how you can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So the issue becomes exactly what you just stated, right? You have different salespeople that all have their own personalities, and they're representing the company or utilizing the tools and or changing the tools that they have to fit their personality, and they're not staying on brand. So therefore, we call it a fragmented customer journey, right? Brian's going to do it one way, you're going to do it the other, and maybe I go to a website and see one font, but the business card is different, or the one sheet or whatever is different. So most contractors and business owners, right, you've got your website, you've got your Google reviews, you got your Facebook page, photos, videos, financing information, contact information, but it's scattered. And what business owners and sales professionals don't understand is that's all what I call pattern interrupts, right? No different than when somebody says, do you have a card? I've got Sasha's attention, and then I'm going to give Sasha my card. We're going to exchange information, and I'm going to say, Sasha, I'll call you. Now, why would Charlie want to call Sasha? To book an appointment. But if Sasha's in front of me right now, okay, and next week he's headed to Vegas in his RV for a week because he's going to be at a racetrack. And now I'm going to try to call Sasha to do what? To book the appointment when Sasha was right here.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, and I'm saying this respectfully to all the listeners, right? And because I was one of them. It's brain damage. Everybody says, oh, I want to be, follow me on this or follow me on that or hit my podcast like we're doing now. If I've got you in front of me, dude, let's book the appointment and create that momentum for logical next steps. And what we did with One Tap Connect, listen, I never intended to make it a digital card, but when we hit the market, we didn't know how to market ourselves, right? So my deal was it's a better digital card. That's not what it is at all. And although the tap feature is cute, that's just a transfer mechanism, right? That would be like to me like saying I need to get to Brian's event. I need to get to Brian's event, whether I hop in your truck, a motorcycle, take an Uber, or ride my bike. That's just a transfer mechanism to get me to the dance. And that's what One Tap Connect is all about. Whether I'm on, a train or, walking the dog or at a conference like Brian's, right? I'm on stage and I'm taking my exhibit booth with me, and there's no fragmentation in the customer journey.
I think I get the message. So save your unique personalities for the tattoo parlor and get with the brand of the company, right? Because you're on the clock, you're working, and the company has a brand, and it's stronger, and your odds of selling and your closing ratios are going to be stronger if you stick together with a brand. Now, if 5 people go to an expo like the Fence Show and Security Expo, which you can register at fenceshow.com to get a pass for, if you go if 5 people go to one of those and they work for the same company and every one of their business cards look different, and you go to the same booth, it doesn't give the same wow factor to the size and the exposure of your company. So I like how you tie it all together. And I've been fortunate enough to see you in action at the show, and then I happened to you came and did a 45 minute sales class in one of the rooms, and I happened to come in for that, and I was blown away. I mean, I thought I was impressed with you, in your booth and with your staff, but once you got in there, it's like you were in your zone, man. You were just like in your element, and you get it. You get how to connect to the people in there and how to make them understand the message you're trying to get through. So it was cool to see.
Well, and there, I just spoke literally before I hopped on here. I spoke for a group of mortgage brokers and real estate agents. Like, what business are they in? We're all in the client acquisition business.
Yep.
Customer acquisition business, right? But a lot of people, there's a disconnect. They're like, oh, if I go out and just do this, right? It's tactical and it's not strategic. Now, full transparency. When I launched One Tap, I made it for myself.
Yep.
Because I didn't like the digital cards that were out there, and certainly paper cards are, at this point, nonsense. They don't anchor any trust. They don't really position you as an expert.
Yep.
Unless you start telling me how good you are. Well, talk is cheap. So when I made this, I made it for myself. Then as I was out there using it, people said, "Can I buy it?" Now, people identify us, again, my fault, as a digital card. Now, in the past 6 months, and you and I, Brian, have talked about this because, I value your opinion and you've mentored me on a lot of things. I wanted to create a whole different lane of thought process when people meet One Tap Connect. And sitting and talking to my partners and a lot of my clients that were succeeding with it, I realized the bigger companies that I have put this into their sales and marketing process as infrastructure. Yep. It's not an option. You work for the company, Sasha, you're a rep, whatever. At hello, this is how we present XYZ company. So with all that, right, I just wrote this book in an effort to reposition the mindset and understanding of what revenue infrastructure is. And it's a system that ensures that every prospect receives the same trust building experience.
Yep.
So it standardizes first impression, company credibility, communication, starts momentum. So right there, you're engaging people in next steps. You're booking the appointment on the spot. And then it becomes an education tool, because I can put documents, forms, agreements, videos, white papers, blogs, replays of your freaking podcast if I want to. So it becomes a customer education portal that you now leave behind with a prospect. So long after you leave, you have presence by absence, right? And now there's consistency. And what we know for sure is consistency scales trust, and then trust accelerates the sales process.
That's a new book. I mean, I remember Exposing Clothes, right? That's the one that, I mean, that you kind of hit it out of the park with. That one. Yeah, that one right there. I mean, I haven't read it, but I know a lot of people that have, you know, because I'm still trying to finish the first book I ever tried reading in '85, and I'm about halfway through it. So, but I know a lot of people that, I mean, I talk to people all the time, and they're like, they'll pull it up just like you did. You know, I've had them do this on the podcast before. So you kind of hit it out of the park with that one. So what made you want to write this one, and what's the difference between the two?
Because again, there's a misnomer, right? I became very frustrated as we're out there. People would go, "Oh, he's the digital card guy," and I'd go home and I'd go, like, dude, that's why I built it, because I hated digital cards. I couldn't stand them. Like they weren't effective, right? Or it's the tap card. Listen, that's the cute part of it, or the novelty of it, and the whole tap thing is open source. Like I could make your cowboy hat an NFC tap, right, where I could tap your hat. The value here is my 40 years of sales experience, boots on the ground, getting my ass kicked, just like a lot of the people that are listening to this. Now, I have a client. I'm walking down a hallway, right? You know me, like when I'm out, right? I'm a sport jacket guy. I love plaid sport coats. Guy, I'm walking down a hallway doing sales consulting in Phoenix, Arizona for a roofing company. A guy stops me in a suit and says, "Hey, man, that's a nice sport jacket." I said, "Hey, my name's Charlie. What's your name?"
Yeah.
Paul. Paul, what do you do? Now I tap his phone. Now, when I tap his phone, I don't tap his phone with One Tap Connect. It's my consulting company.
Yeah.
But it's my One Tap profile for my consulting company. He goes, "Where did you get this?" I started laughing. I said, "I know the owner." He goes, "Show him." Guy hangs up his phone. I tap his phone. The guy scrolls, looks up at me. He said, "Can you introduce me to the owner? Because I got a small group that I want to put on this, 3 to 6 people. And if I like it, I'll take 300. I said, "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do?" He said, "My name's Bill Conlon. I'm vice president of sales for Westlake Royal Building Products."
Yeah.
I said, "Bill, forgive me. I don't know your company." He said, "No problem. We only do about 18 billion a year."
We do a bunch for them. Las
Right?
Vegas Fence. Yeah.
Right. I said, "Bill, don't I feel like a jackass?" He said, "Listen, give me a small package right now. If I like it, I'll take 300. Dude, I closed a $50,000 deal.
Yeah.
To why I was walking to the bathroom, and Bill lived up to his word and spent a little shy of 50 grand. Now, they renew with me every year. And Bill just asked me, right, to come to Tucson. They're flying me to Tucson, and they're bringing me in to speak to their 300, 400 sales reps. Why am I telling you guys this? Because, dude, I was walking down a hallway. Now, I could have been walking down a hallway representing the fence show, right? What do you do? "Hey, man, like your hat." What do you do? I tap your phone. I don't have to explain anything about the fence show. He could have as easily said to me, "Dude, are you a part of this show?" "Yeah." What do you do for them?" "I'm the accountant."
Yeah.
"Well, I want a booth." Okay. Do you
tap that link?
But do you understand that? That's where people are missing it. So that's really what prompted me to write the book, because every leader within the company, and it starts at the top, right? I love when I get on the phone with founders and they go, "Oh, I really don't need it for me, but my sales team should have it." I'm like, dude, you're a leader and you're not going to have it. You're not out there like, well,
Sasha, is that what you say? Is that what you said when he called you?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
It's
and I also said I don't understand how to use this technology. I did say that to you multiple times.
But here's the bottom line. It needs to be congruent between the leader all the way down, right? Every employee represents the brand. And if everybody presented the company like Sasha at First Point of Contact, if everybody presented the company or the fence show like Brian at First Point of Contact, right? That's key, right? To the customer, every single person they interact with is the company. So revenue infrastructure allows every team member to present the company with the same level of professionalism as though they're meeting the CEO. And by the way, Bill Conlon had no idea who I was, right? Or anything, like didn't know the price. And that's why when you utilize this, the whole thing's about standardizing trust, because trust precedes price. If people trust you, the price becomes irrelevant.
So Charles, let me ask you this question. I know it's a bit of a loaded question. And I know it's probably not just one thing, but what do you see as a common maybe mistake or error that fence salespeople, what you've seen in your experience, what are we doing that's sort of what's some of those basic mistakes that we are doing at the moment in your experience?
Well, listen, speed matters more than ever, right? Everyone hears about speed to lead, right? Everyone's impatient. People don't answer their phones. People don't return texts. People don't return emails. So when you do have somebody's attention, the first thing you need to do is make them conscious, right? Hey, I'm XYZ Fence Company, right? I'm Frederickson Fence or Las Vegas Fence. Now, once they're conscious, you need to procure their attention.
Yeah.
And now when you have it, how do you accelerate it and get momentum? So I like to say, you want to make them conscious, get them to pay attention, right? And then when you have their attention and you get them to pay attention, eventually they pay you for your attention. Why? Because you're educating them. So my opinion is many fence contractors lose opportunities because prospects don't have enough information about the company quickly.
Yeah.
Right? The first few minutes after contact, that's the most important. Now, what is that? It could be at a home show. It could be me at the store seeing your hat and going, hey, man, you're a fence contractor. You're with XYZ Fence. Great. Your booth is right there. You're going to pay Brian to go to a fence show to meet people to sell your product. But you are the brand called you. So why not present on purpose as though you just spent tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring this huge bar in and pour beer, when you could be pouring the beer right there at the bar? It's cheaper to buy the guy a drink, right? And say, hey, man, let me tap. And now you're presenting. So speed matters. The art of presentation matters. And that's where, and it's not only in fence. I just said this when I spoke to the real estate agents and mortgage brokers. Everybody wants to sell more, but no one takes advantage of the organic opportunities that are right in front of them because they don't have the right infrastructure. Therefore, they're delivering a fragmented customer journey because, again, everyone is saying and doing and showing what they think is right versus the infrastructure that the founder's putting into place.
So, Charlie, let me ask you this then to lead on. You know, a lot of us go, we call it, I don't know how you want to call it, Brian, we race to the bottom, you know? And I'm sure there's a lot of industries that do exactly the same. Hey, you're cheaper than him or you know. So how do you overcome that? Like, what would your advice be when you hear that? I mean, I know you probably get it all the time. Like, you know, the customer goes to a client, they're doing all the deal, and it's like, hey, we're not cheap enough. Or, you know, it's all about price. How do you overcome that?
Well, again, trust precedes price. Okay. You, me, Brian, and I guarantee you, everyone listening to this or watching this podcast has bought something where they paid top dollar or more than they wanted to, and we're happy that they did. Okay. My wife wanted a new Tahoe a couple of years ago. I didn't want to spend 92, 95 grand, whatever the number was, on a new Tahoe. We went in, right? The sales guy meted us and greeted us. He brought in the manager, right? The manager knew that I wasn't a guy that was going to give him a trainload of time because he's reading me and knows that I am a sales guy and know the game, right? He built trust with me, came back with a number, right? It was more than I wanted to spend, but I didn't want to drive across town to get another bid. Why? Because what's my time worth? right? And then, and I hope my wife doesn't listen to this podcast because we met my wife 31 years, right? I love her. I don't want to hear 24/7, 365. Yep. When am I going to get my news? Oh,
yeah.
Right? So the guy did me a huge service, and it was trust, right? I trusted that he was selling me a good car at a good price, and he did the deal so quickly, right? Within 45 minutes, she drove it, liked it, worked out the numbers. I inked it, and he's putting me into the box to finance it. So that's what people miss. That's what sales managers miss, directors of sales miss, founders of companies miss. Everybody wants to learn how to close. If you learn how to open, if you learn how to say hello, you don't have to close. Do you understand? Like, Brian didn't have to close me to exhibit. I never exhibited at a fence show, ever. I didn't even know the fence was a thing, right? I mean, obviously I saw fences around construction sites, right? But I had no idea how big the industry was because I wasn't conscious. Once I became conscious, Brian got my attention, right? Then he engaged me in his process. And then he showed me the proof, authenticity, and proof that he knew what the heck he was doing and how to run a show. And I gave him $5,000 before he bought OneTap Connect. So anyway, you can tell I'm very passionate, but part of my passion is also frustration, which led me to write the book, because it's really very simple, but because of how we've been programmed as salespeople, how we come up, right? Or maybe the training process within a lot of companies is fragmented. Now, I'm a small business guy just like you. We're not perfect. We all have our bottlenecks and fragmentation. But what I do know is this process. And if you follow it, right, you're going to win. And the companies that we have, like that company, they probably now have over 100 of their salespeople on our product and continue just to add. Go to the back dashboard. Every other day, every other week, we're seeing more people with Richard Supply. I sold one of their salespeople at an event. I didn't have a booth. What do? I showed them. She said, I want this. She bought it out of her own pocket. She then introduced me to the vice president of sales. He said, I'm going to have to go through a lot of red tape to get this approved. He bought it. They started using it. Then they called me and said, we want to get 50 people on board. And now they've got over 100 and give us a ton of referrals. So I'm just really trying to convey, it's not rocket science. But what we've created, like every button, everywhere we place your content, right? Your social proof. If you use a CRM now, we can embed a button. So when you go to Brian's show, people can tap the button, give you their information. It goes right into your CRM. It automatically sends them an email. Yeah. So, and then you're booking an appointment right on the spot at the booth, at the car wash, at your kid's ball game. So at any rate, I wholeheartedly believe, especially now on my journey to write this, that the future belongs to the companies that engineer trust, because the art of human connection is going to be more well received, because at the end of the day, we're not AI. We're human beings, and although people want the convenience of technology, people still want to be heard. People still want to be, reached out to, shake a hand, have that art of human connection.
Do you remember? It happened about a year and a half ago, almost. It wasn't that long ago when all of a sudden these AI posts started popping up, and all the images and all these, how you could do these really cool graphics and stuff with AI, and everybody was doing it. Every single post was that, and then it got to the point where everybody's like started just glazing over anything that looked like it was AI. And now we're back to, so we started with Canva, if you remember, and that was like, those were like really good, where you plugged in your own pictures and you still had to design it and post it. Then everybody said, well, and we thought that was easy, right? Then AI, ChatGPT and stuff came out, and people just started just saying, build me something of a fence with a dog behind it. And it just created this really cool looking, and they're all designing their logos on it. And that stuff went out, and that went off for like a year and a half. And now people are like, we're so sick of seeing anything that's AI, and they're starting to post Canva stuff again. So it's almost like we ran through that entire cycle of AI generated stuff quickly, a lot quicker than I expected. And everybody thought, well, this is going to replace your salespeople. This is going to replace everything. And I remember sitting in my office and sitting at the conference table talking to salespeople and stuff there. And they're like, oh, we're going to get rid. I go, we're not, because what's going to happen is people are going to stop trusting what they see online. This is the best thing that could possibly happen for all of us true salespeople. So don't fire. I tell lots of people, don't go out and fire your good salespeople yet. Give it a little bit of time, and then people are going to start craving those that they're not going to trust. Not just crave it, they're not going to trust it unless you physically drive out there and shake their hand anymore. So all these websites have gotten better. Everything has just got, I mean, we raced, like kind of what Sasha was saying, race to the bottom with pricing, and we're using all the AI tools, which are still valuable, but I think we're going to see a real shift in how AI tools are used. It won't be just to generate your posts and your ads and your pricing and build websites anymore. It's going to be to truly what it was really meant to be, assist in some stuff in the back end that you don't see. So I don't know if you noticed that, how we just ran through that really quick. And I don't know if it was just me.
Yeah. Well, when I was writing the book, Revenue Infrastructure, I was using AI. Now,
Yep.
when I first did it, right? When I did my first book, I'm at the kitchen table, typing away, writing, right? And then I started talk to texting my book. Then I take the talk to text, put it into a Word doc. That's how I wrote my first book. Now, my second book, I used AI, and then I put a topic in there, and it would spit stuff out, and I'd be like, yeah, it's like 50% right. The other 50% is gibberish. Right. So I went through that whole exercise and then realized you can use AI, but AI is like having a personal assistant. I still had to go in there and write it, right? And put my thoughts to paper, or put my thoughts to talk to text, right? And lay it out. Now, again, I put it in there. AI proofs it. AI might say, hey, you forgot, maybe you should add another subject line about X, Y, or Z. Have you thought about that? So again, AI is there to support the expertise of that particular individual, and I don't see it, at least not right now, as a way for it to. I agree with you, to replace, human beings in that regard.
Yeah.
Brian, can I ask you a question? Because you keep asking everyone else questions, so it gets very personal. But as a fence company, like, how would you do your marketing budget? Like, what you go, hey, we're going to spend X amount of dollars a month, on marketing, whatever that is, Google, whatever we're, like, especially because our sort of audience, Brian, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like, we have a lot of fence companies that, are smaller to medium size. And I think that's a big stress, even for us, like Founders Fence, like, we always sit down and go, dude, like, what are we doing?
Yep. Talk
me through it. Like, how did you do with, Las Vegas Fence, and then, Charlie can intercede and sort of explain, like let's say it's a $10,000 but I don't know what your budget was or is,
Mine was all organic. I mean, I sat there, but I love this stuff. I love technology. I love I love to try something new, and I like to do something outside of the box. I mean, I would go and tap a different market. I would figure out what everybody else is doing, and I would do anything but that, because that means there's already enough people doing that, and I don't want to be the fourth guy to walk up and ask the same person if you want to buy the same item. So I'll create a whole different market or a field or something like that. But it changed a lot, because I remember when the original marketing was, we would pay $800 for a Yellow Page ad, and you didn't have to revisit that for another 11 months, right? Until it was time to re-up it. And the only way anybody could actually basically get above you would be the next year. If they had enough money, they could get a bigger ad, right? And they could go on the page before you. And I think what changed a lot of this for a lot of people was the digital, like when it went online, the yellowpages.com, and that became the Yellow Pages. So it doesn't mean you're selling online. A lot of people considered it selling online. No, that was your new Yellow Pages, right? Basically your book. They just stopped delivering the books and all went on there. But I sat there and started creating websites and domains and blogs, and I didn't look at it like a waste. I didn't look like a waste to stay up till 3 a.m. I mean, I was up till 3:30 in the morning last night working on domains and websites and stuff, and up at 7 o'clock. So to me, I enjoyed it though. You know what I mean? And it's something that I'd rather do that than sit there, but I'll watch TV while I'm doing it and stuff. So I think if you wanted to put the time in, you could go out there and you could do better than almost paying someone to do it, because they're going to be great, but they're going to be competing for the same traffic, because they're all competing for the same AdWords and the same everything that's out there. And I think for me, I think if you want to put the time in, start building some Facebook groups, start building Facebook pages, some companies, get some domains and websites, get that wheel built and build it all the way around. But it takes commitment and time, and you got to keep updating all that stuff. But I think the biggest hurdle for companies now coming up is you could have a sign. I look at it like this, and the yellowpage.coms and all the Google AdWords, all the stuff that's out there, and people act like, hey, this is a great return on your investment. If you give us $8,000, we're going to get you $36,000 in revenue, and that ROI, and they start running these numbers, right? Okay, 8,000 for 36,000 or whatever it happens to be. They sell ROI, right? They sell ROI. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not happy that you're trying to sell this to me, because basically I have a sign in front of my building that says Las Vegas Fence, right? On my building. Everybody that drives by is going to look over and see Las Vegas Fence and my phone number on it. That would be a normal scenario, right? Well, all they've done was build a billboard in front of my sign, and they want to sell me ad space on this billboard that's in front of my sign to get the phone call I would have got if they didn't exist in the first place. So when these companies call me up from, and they're marketing these things, and they're buying the ads, they're showing up in the sponsored section before your name, and they're trying to sell you that sponsored section. And if those sponsored sections didn't exist, you would be the first call, because they were driving by your building, right? So I look at it a little differently. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to compete in that world. I'm not going to buy those AdWords. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go create a whole different market. I'm going to create something that needs fence. I'm going to go and create a new business model, or reach out to a whole new demographic of people like Charlie. Our industry has chased the same 500 customers. You're from the industry when it comes to that. Suppliers, everybody, they chase the same 500 companies for the last 15, 20 years. And I went out and chased a whole different demographic of people. Charlie, no one's ever came to you and said, come get a booth at a fence show, right? And the first time you met with me, you were an untapped market. You and everybody else in this arena. You were at roof conventions and real estate ones you just did. So I guess that's what I would tell people. Go outside of the box. Quit thinking you gotta pay for the same ads and compete for the same stuff. Charlie, you taught me, and I know before I get over, I could ramble forever. Charlie, one thing that stuck with me about a conversation we had one time was you go up and you're right. You do say, hi, I'm Charlie. Someone makes eye contact with you. You're in an elevator. You're walking down a hallway. You say, hi, I'm Charlie. What's your name? And I tend to do this now more than I ever used to do it. Not, it used to be a lot of good morning. How are you? Things like this. Now I'm like, hi, I'm Brian. What's your name? If it seems like it's the appropriate time, not in a restroom, but things like that. But nonetheless, and then I'll be like, what do you do? You taught me this, Charlie. What do you do? Well, I'm a fence installer, and I literally use what you taught me as an icebreaker, and this is something everybody listening can learn from. I'm like, no, what you actually do is you secure properties for homeowners and businesses to either protect their stuff or keep their children safe, and that's something you taught me, Charlie, how to take almost any position that somebody's doing and turn it from just a job title into a connection with them, and then they think about it.
Right, and the reason for that is because when you just did a similar talk that I did for you at the fence show, I said to the gal, what do you do? She said, I'm a loan officer. I said to the person next to you, what do you do? I'm a mortgage broker. What do you do? I'm a loan officer. Right? And I'm like, no, you're not. Like, as soon as you say that, you're being dismissive to the person that you're talking to, because subconsciously that's what they're doing to you. You are not interesting, therefore they're not going to be interested. So, Sasha, to answer your question and piggyback on what Brian said, I believe wholeheartedly what Brian's saying. Now, we spend money on Facebook ads. Okay, I don't even want to tell you this month what our ROI is, right? Or what our CAC, our customer acquisition cost is on an ad. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Meta. It's more unpredictable than playing the stock market. The algorithms change. Now we still do it. Why? Well, probably because we're programmed to do it, or if we feel like, right, we're not out there, no one's seeing our face, right? But we continue to do it. But what we also continue to do on the regular, like I just went and spoke at this event, right? They contracted me to come and speak at the event, right? Now, I'm an expert at what I do, but Sasha, you're an expert at what you do, and Brian, you're an expert at what you do. So how do you, A, get in front of groups, right? Or get on podcasts? How do you create, as a business owner, I'm talking to defense contractors, more content? What's more content? Don't get caught up in the whole influencer thing. What is it? One of your guys is drilling a post or augering a post or whatever the term is that you guys use. You record it, right? You post it. You put it on your one tap, whatever. Reviews, testimonials, photos, videos, referrals, social proof, right? I call it your trust ecosystem. And then when you're out in the world, right, it's there. And that's what Brian is saying when he says organic. Well, okay, if you're going to go out there in an organic market, what do you need? You need content, you need reviews, you need testimonials, you need videos, you need referrals, you need social proof. So it's not difficult, but for some reason, for more people than right, it's the rule, not the exception. Doing it's complex, but if you really take your time to say hello, or even do the math. My son has been in medical device sales, and as a matter of fact, I told Brian he's now got his dream job with Johnson & Johnson. He's moving to Irvine. We're moving him to Irvine tomorrow, California. But he's like, Dad, what do I do? I said the same thing that I've been telling you to do with all the other companies. Go talk to 5 fresh people a day.
Yep. That
need your product, right? Who are they? It's a knock. It's a telephone call. You drop off. You're texting your one tap. You're leaving a copy of your book, whatever. And that's really, in my opinion, the differentiator, because Facebook's very expensive. I talked to a mentor of mine. He was spending $25,000 a month. He's an influencer, online, trainer consultant.
Yep.
He told me, Charlie, the big guys that are out there, and I don't know if you know these names in your field, but like the Alex Hormozis and the Grant Cardones and all these big, online influencers, they're spending $500, $1 million, $2 million a month on Meta.
Yeah.
Meta is not paying attention to the little guy.
Yep.
Like you and me. So at any rate, that would be, I agree with Brian. I think you got to go back, to high tech, high touch, and how do you get the reviews? How do you get the years of your documented projects, your customer stories, and give the customer a consistent first contact experience, and then it'll replicate. They'll see you somewhere else, right? And they'll go, oh, I know that company, or I know that guy.
Nope.
For example, in the event I just spoke at, I'm trying to drive home this point, and I just went bum, 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 bum. And the guy goes, farmers. And I'm like,
yeah. That's
called branding. Why do you know it? Because they, same commercial, same bum, 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 bum. Now the actors or whoever, right, or the scene might change, right? But Doesn't matter where the guy's at the end,
Yep.
you're going to hear bump, 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 bump. So anyway,
You
I
see
think
that guy in anything now, and you like he's done a couple movies. The guy that did that with the deep voice, and all you can think of is those Allstate commercials, or what was it, Farmers or Allstate?
that's Farmers. Yeah,
Farmers,
but the other
yeah,
guy,
and-
you're right. The other guy is with Allstate.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all you could think of. I just watched a whole series, and it was like every single episode, I was just thinking about buying auto insurance, and it was just like, it was crazy. So, Sasha, so you're at a different. I mean, we're all selling different things.
Yeah.
Being on the supplier side, it seems like it's pretty consistent. The marketing, you get some salespeople, you go out and you start talking to fence companies. What have you done? Have you done anything different that you know of that you guys do that's different than everybody else? Because you kind of rise pretty quick in what you're doing. I mean, you're a personable guy like we were just talking about. So what do you guys do? Do you have any suggestions for people, or maybe you don't want to get these secrets out there, but what are you
They're
doing?
not secret. Well, how can I not keep them secret? Now Charlie's got 2 books with them all in there. Honestly, it's pretty much what Charlie's been talking about. We've always had that motto. Even when I worked for Corporate American Fence Supply, we were renowned as never getting back to you. So how are you going? And especially on the supply side, you're going to sell that one product to one client and have 7 other competitors doing the same exact thing. So in that case, you have to be more attentive. I really couldn't agree more with what Charlie's been saying. I think that's the lesson is we're in the service industry, all of us. Ours just happens to be fencing. So that attention to detail, that quick response, I think you guys know way better than me because you guys know that social market. When you can flip a reel and, you're changing reels every, 10 seconds.
Right.
That mentality, how do we stand out different? And I never want to talk about price first, Charlie. Like I think that's the one thing I teach my sales team. If we're talking price first, we've lost. We've already lost. So price will come up, but it should be the last part of our conversation, if that makes sense.
Well, and what I try to impress upon, salespeople is it's not about selling, it's about presenting. Right? You need to present and position yourself. You need to present yourself in a way that's unforgettable at the first point of contact, right? Well, that's called personality, right? Charisma, whatever word you want to put to it. But you also want to be genuine. You can't be a phony. You have to come from a place of good intention. If your intention's not good, people are going to pick up on the vibe. What's the vibe? The vibrations, right? Your aura. So that's a real thing, right? That's a real thing. And when people go out and sell, if they don't have a system and a protocol, again, in an infrastructure, a lot of guys get sales breath. Right? You walk in and you know they're just trying to rush the sale. You cannot rush a sale. If you that's not how you shorten your sales cycle.
No.
Right? It's not. Let me tell you what this is, and you're trying to shove something down my throat that I don't even want.
Yeah.
So even at the hello, right? What I'm trying to do with the whole infrastructure is the customer gets to look at the menu for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute. And then they can say, oh, Sasha, tell me about your XYZ. Or how about when they say, oh, I didn't know you did that. Or I didn't know you carried that. Why is that? Because you handed them this and you told them to go to your website. They're not going to your website.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. And again, it's simple, but for some reason, for people doing it's complex. Right. So my whole thing is, if I'm a fencer, I don't want to be the cheapest fence company in town. I want to be the most trusted fence company in town. And if I close Brian's, if he trusts me to become my client and I install that fence, what do I want to do? I want to give them a smooth client experience from start to finish. And then when I'm done, right, I want to go back in and present what they just bought again, which a lot of people don't do. Right? You get the money, right? I'd present it again. Okay, Mr. Jones, you have a second? And I don't know if you guys do this or not in your business, but when I was in the flooring business, because I was in home services for a long time, I don't even know if you know that, Brian, but I did home improvement for years. But I used to take the customer back and walk them through what they just bought.
Yep.
And say, now here's how to treat it, right? Here's how to cure for it. But a lot of companies don't do that, right? And then what's the leave behind? Well, the leave behind is the infrastructure now that I've created to where my digital profile goes on their phone like an app.
Yep.
And I say, if you need anything, call me anytime. That's my personal cell number, right? Now my app's on their phone. And before I leave, I say, by the way, would you mind giving me a Google review before I leave? Oh, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, click that button.
Right. Well, what are a lot of companies doing? Would you give me a Google review? Oh, sure. When Harry comes home for dinner, him and I will sit down on the computer and we'll give you a review. Never going to happen. Again, when do you make money? Right now. N-O-W. And when you do it right now, N-O-W, U-W-O-N, you won. Now, I don't know. People go, oh, that's, you know, is that like a nursery rhyme you picked up? It's cute. It's just something I picked up on. When you do it now, you won.
Yep.
I'm going to qualify you as my prospect right now. Where are we at? At a ball game. If you're not a prospect, I don't want to take your business card and try to track you down for 3 weeks only to find out it's not you that needed the fence. It's your landlord that you're renting. And by the time you give me the landlord's number, if I'm lucky enough for you to do that, he already put his fence in. You just burned a lot of time. But if I tap your phone, my digital profile pops up. Now we're having a 60, 90-second conversation. I can sort, sift, and separate you prospect to suspect. And if you're a suspect, I don't want you in my ecosystem. I don't need another lead in my CRM. I don't need dirty data, right? Or unqualified prospects. So again, what we created is very simple, but the use cases and what it does has been our problem to get people to understand, which is, again, why I wrote the book, and I'm trying to educate people from inside out. Like, what would it be worth that when you tap somebody's phone or they scanned your QR code, you spent an extra 60 seconds with them to find out that they're a dud?
Yeah.
Then you don't have to follow up, right? Or create a funnel to put them in your email blast and text them in whatever for weeks, only to find out that you hit a dead end. So at any rate, if I was a company, I wouldn't try to be the cheapest, right? I'd want to be the most trusted, because when the customers do trust you, price, it doesn't become as relevant. They're willing to pay a little more. So that's the essence of, what we call revenue infrastructure for a contractor. It's not about generating more leads. It's about converting more of the leads that you're already paying for and or organically interacting with.
I want to bring up, you earlier said, don't rush the sale, and that's different than saying don't rush the lead. I mean, and don't rush that first contact. So rush that first contact, I'm a firm believer, be that first guy out there, get that price to them, ask for the sale before anybody even had a chance to build a relationship with that customer. So whoever came up with this theory from the 50s that you want to be the last guy out there, well, he probably died broke, because, he definitely wasn't closing most of his sales. He was just trying to pre-qualify and hoping that the only guy left the guy left standing was just going to buy from the last guy. But I think you need to be that first guy out there. Rush that, but I agree, don't rush that sale. Build that trust real quick, get that price, ask for the sale. And salespeople all the time that we're training are always coming to me, Brian, how much is this? Brian, how much is this? How much do I bid this for? And I'm like, and they get so frustrated. My response is always the same: get out there and finish selling it, and then we'll tell the customer how much it is. And I don't think we do enough of that. We're so quick to just like, the only way you race to the bottom is if everybody's so freely just sharing their price before they ever shook the hand of the person or got a chance to get to know the person or make them think that they should want to use your company. But Sasha, I know you I look up to when it comes to this, the relationships you build with people and seeing what you do with everybody out there, with not just your race team, but your company and your, I got to spend, I spent a lot of time with you, Sasha. You two are probably a couple of my closer friends that I have that I talk to and see and hang out with, outside of just the crazy work stuff that we have. And I can tell you, Sasha, you going to Puerto Rico with you and your family and stuff like this, you connect with people on a level that a lot of people don't. And I think that shows, in your company. But speaking of suppliers, Founders Fence, I do want to pull up Sean Bahinsky. Is everybody following what Sean Bahinsky's doing with with the stuff he's got going on his company? It's Imperial. I don't know, maybe Susan can make sure we get it in there. It's Imperial Supply Group, or it's Imperial. So she's like going to have to look it up now. But he is out doing his own supply house, and he's got his first order. We all remember that. Do you remember that, Charlie? When you sold your first, you remember like it was yesterday, that first one tap you sold. I remember the first customers we had. Well, I know he called me afterwards, and I was on the phone with him for like 15, 20 minutes, and he was so excited. Of course, he's probably still upside down $250,000 from setting it up, but he's so happy over this $2,500 order maybe. But you know us, right, Sasha? You remember the first order you sold at Founders Fence.
Yeah,
and
the entrepreneurial dopamine rush.
Yep.
So and he'll be at the Fence show. Yeah, it's Imperial Fence. That's going to be over there, and he's over there in Indiana. So let's do a shout out for him and congratulate him on his first sale, and hopefully many more in the industry.
Is Susan listening right now? Is she in the background here?
She's doing this to me probably in the back, and I'm not looking down.
If you want, Susan, put my link in there. And then if people want a free digital download of Revenue Infrastructure, you can put that link in there and they can access a free download.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's unedited proof. This is the first copy that I have. I'm just going through it right now to make sure there's no typos or anything I don't like. But yeah, if people want to access that, and then I'm really excited to be involved in all the workshops you've got going on, and we're going to go deep on a lot of the concepts and processes that we've been talking about on the podcast here. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, if you guys want to hear more from Charlie, I'm telling you, if you don't see him in person, there's Sean. Yeah, I was talking to him, but to see him in person up there and actually be sitting in a room that's where it's just like 25, 30 of you, and and you had a question, you can ask him. He's gonna help cater this to exactly what you're struggling with. Definitely a Fence show, full throttle pass. This is the year. You're doing I believe you got 2 different sessions going on, if I remember.
I had 2, and then I think you got me. I don't know. I'm just going to show up wherever you tell me, bro.
Susan
or should I say where Susan tells me?
I know, right? I'm told too. She's giving me for everybody in the background, I can see her like grayed out, sort of. I could, kind of like if you were had some sort of in a fog in her little window over there, and she's going like this too. So she's either like, hey, peace, yeah, something, or she's telling me you have 2 classes. So now she's got 1 finger. So yeah, I see we have 1.
It's pointed the other way around. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So it's 1 or 2. Yeah. So hey, let's break into we didn't even get to half the stuff we could have talked about. So you're gonna have to go to the Fence show if you guys want to hear more from Charlie. And walk up to Sasha is going to be in the middle of the floor as well. So walk up to Sasha or Charlie if you want to talk to them and hear a little bit more. But let's do some rapid fire questions and see what Charlie has to say. By the way, I never hear these rapid fires until the moment I refuse, because I think that it makes me want to answer. I don't know what she's doing. She's doing some signaling.
Yeah, she's saying.
Yeah. So, rapid. But anyway, so rapid fire. Okay, this is good. This one's for you, Charlie. We're going to kind of rotate on this thing and see what you say. I know you haven't seen him either. I'll start off. Okay, more leads or better conversions?
Well, if your salespeople suck, you need more leads.
Right, fair enough.
I'm not being rough, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right? If you don't have a process, if you don't have the infrastructure, listen, you go to a movie, right? People read a script. Now, 20 actors, high level actors, by the way, in all these big movies, go and audition. They read the script and put their own personality into it. But there's a process. And that's all I'm suggesting. So the short question or the short answer is, I believe if your sales process is good with a clear marketing message and you are trying to anchor trust at first point of contact, it's you don't need a ton of leads. You get better conversion. But if not, then you need a volume of leads because you're turning and burning.
Yeah, I agree. And I think in our industry, it's changed a little bit, even over the last 10 years. And I think it's going to hurt us a little bit because, again, what I said earlier, we thought that we didn't need our salespeople, and we thought that all of a sudden we were just going to use the tools that we had that were available to get as many leads as we can. And I think if we're not careful, we're going to pre-qualify stuff too much, and there won't be enough. So, yeah, I agree. Either good salespeople, right, or more leads. It's one or the other. But I want to go back because I don't know if Susan pulled it up yet or not about the volunteers before we go into the rest of the questions. So we do have like 50, I think. She's got a bunch of people. Oh, she pulled this up earlier. That's why she's wondering why I didn't bring it up. So anyway, we got this year. It's a little bit different. We made some decisions. If you watch any of the other podcasts that we had going on, that we hit a point on the show where it's grown. We're one of the major shows in our industry that's going on for the fence and gate industry now. And we start deciding whether we start bringing in management companies, and then it gets a little difficult to have the shows run the way you want if people outside your industry are in there running them. So we made the conscious decision that we'd rather invest into our own industry and bring more people to the show and help them get to the show and have the show truly continue to be ran by the people in our industry. So we opened up probably slots, and what we need help with is probably close to, I believe, up to 75 different volunteers coming in from different positions around the show. So you're going to be able to get multiple things with this. If you have to go to fenceshow.com, go under volunteer, go to fenceshow.com/volunteer, and you can select some of the positions that are that we need help with. And you're going to get a full throttle pass for you and up to 2 people to come with you as well with full throttle passes. So that right there is a $600 bonus, for coming. So if you've been thinking about wanting to come see Charlie speak or see one of the, this Full Throttle tracks and the series we have this year is second to none. There's 50 to 60 different instructors already signed up that are going to be coming in. You're going to get, if you qualify for the, for that position and stuff, you're going to get hotel room for those 3 nights. I believe they said it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on the position you're on. You're going to get 4 Full Throttle staff shirts. We're working on getting the crew reception, which, the volunteer crew reception area set up. So there's quite a bit of perks. If you've ever been thinking about coming to the fence show, and some of that was some of the stuff, the hurdles that were keeping you from coming, hopefully this helps get some fence companies to the show that were maybe debating around the fence about
nice pun. Nice.
About it. So right here,
Frederickson Comedy Club.
Yeah.
So I'll be here same time, the same channel next week. But hey, so you'll go there, select any of these things you'd be available, possibly you'll be interested in. We're talking about door staff, people checking the doors, exhibit room center that's going to be going on in there. It's hard for me to read all of it. We need full throttle crew, which will be helping with some of the full throttle areas and things like that. Go through and take a look if you're interested in any of that stuff, and submit something in there. Susan's reviewing that stuff regularly and trying to get back to people as quick as she can. We got kind of a little flood wave of it, but hopefully this brings in even some more people. One thing about us, we're always looking for people that either haven't been to one of these shows or wasn't as connected to the industry, and bringing them in to get with in front of you suppliers and maybe learn some new tools and suppliers in the industry and network. But anyway, I wanted to get that out there because I didn't want to miss that at the end of this thing. Next week, she also says there's 5 minutes with Brian that's going to be coming up. So any of the exhibitors that are at the show, I don't know if you've done one of those. You're going to be able to come in for 5 minutes. You just get cut off right at the 5 minutes. So get that elevator pitch down. Hey, give Charlie a call and say, I only got 5 minutes. What am I going to say? That's what I would do. Get here, drop that in there. Message Charlie if you see him on here and say, hey, I got 5 minutes. How do I get and he'd be perfect guy for this. He'll tell you, this is exactly what you pitch all the time. You got 5 minutes to sell your company. This is it. 5 minutes next week. There you go. One tap there. Click that link or follow that to get over to Charlie. So anyway, back to the rapid fire questions. Sasha, you are up.
Oh, I'm up. You got it. I lost them. Hang on, give me 1 second. Okay, what's the worst phrase a salesperson can say during an estimate?
To be honest with you, I love
What's that? Why do you not like that line?
Because why would you say to be honest with you? That's saying you weren't honest. Subconsciously, it's saying you weren't being honest previous to you saying to be honest with you, right? Or to tell you the truth. And those to me are like, because I really haven't used those, and I can't even tell you when. I consider them to be very old sales phrases. Not that they should have ever been sales phrases, but yeah, when somebody says, can I be honest with you? I say, no, continue lying to me.
That's a good point.
No, continue to lie to me.
No,
Go ahead.
That's a good point. It's definitely, when you put it in perspective, why say it at all? Because you've been lying. Yeah, no, I like it. So here's another one, real quick one. One number every fence company should be tracking.
Say that again.
One number a fence company should be always tracking or should be tracking.
I'll let you answer that, Brian.
What's one number they should be tracking? The leads. I think that it's one of the most important things you can track is the number of leads that are coming in and the number. So besides the leads, I would say your response time to the leads would be the number. I mean, like, I think a timer starts, and the timer starts from the moment that person either filled out a form, called, left a message, needed a quote, and I think that window is 15 minutes. So I may be a little more extreme than a lot of people. So this ties right back almost into what you were answering earlier about the phrase salespeople, saying stuff during the estimate they shouldn't say. But I think that you have this 15-minute window from when that customer calls up. And a lot of times when a customer is looking for something, I don't care if you're looking for to order something for your company. If you're looking to buy a widget for your company, you're looking to buy some tool you need in the back. You may have we're busy. Business owners are busy and homeowners are busy nowadays too with the way it is, and we're an on-demand society. So I think that number, that 15 minutes is such a magical thing that, they may have only allocated 15, 20 minutes to finding somebody to come out and do that fence. And if you didn't answer your phone and if you didn't get back to them, so if you had a lead that came in on your online thing that says, I'm interested in a fence, because you went all digital and you decided you're not going to answer your phone anymore, then you have a short window. And if you call them back within minutes, that might be the difference between, and even if you say, I'm going to be out there this afternoon, right? I'm going to be out there in the morning. They just wanted to call because maybe they just want to tell their wife they called somebody and they got an appointment scheduled and they want to move back to whatever they were doing. You may have prevented that person from calling 2 other companies. So that 15-minute is probably a number that I don't think people focus on enough. They just think they can get back. And after that 15 minutes, I believe your closing ratio drops in half, and then it just keeps dropping for the next, 6 hours. And then it's history after that. You're hurting for the next day or two. So I guess that would I'd be tracking. That first 15 minutes would be my number.
All right. And then the very last question for in the rapid fire, Charlie, is one thing you tell a fence company owner to stop doing tomorrow.
Don't say business cards. Don't even say it. He's like this. He's like, I tell him to get rid of this.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yeah, I would, but what? Listen, I hate saying this because I don't like the way it sounds, but I've been selling for 40 years as an adult, right? And we're selling, newspapers and knocking doors to, shovel driveways, right? So one of the things what was the question? To stop doing?
Yeah. What would be one thing you'd tell a fence owner to stop doing tomorrow?
You have to stop chasing. And what I mean by that is, for most of my sales career, right? You're on the grind, you're on the chase, you're on the hustle, right? You're some people, I've had some salespeople come to my house and it's almost like they're begging for a deal. Now, how do you beg for a deal? Right? You're dropping price, you're throwing things in unjustifiably. Same thing with the hard close. Now, I can hard close with the best of them, but when you have to hard close somebody, right? Something is absent in your sales process, or you haven't done a good job building trust and rapport, so that person is actually telling you the unspoken objection that's causing the friction within the sale.
Yeah.
So that's what I would, stop doing. You have to stop chasing, and you have to stop. I'm going to use the word begging, but you need to elevate the way in which you present and position your company and your sales process. And again, I'm not suggesting it's easy, but that's, in my sales experience, my biggest deals. And I'm just using this for one tap now, right? The Westlake Royal Building products, dude. I didn't have to convince him to buy. He made the decision to buy. Nothing had to be forced, right? He experienced it, and then he made the decisions for next steps. So the big deals, when you're going in and you're presenting on purpose, right, with clarity, those are when my biggest deals have come to light versus the chasing and the grind. The chasing and the grind, whether it's been in the shade business, the flooring business, other home service businesses I was in, the biggest pain in the neck jobs were always the jobs that I kind of chased or grinded, right? Or I'll use the word beg. Not that I was literally begging them to take it, but I dropped my price, or, they tell me to drop the price and I said, okay.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you usually lose on and take it in the short. So that would be my biggest advice. Know your worth and stand by it. And if you need to walk away from a deal, I know it's hard, but sometimes, you fire a potential client, you're better off.
Yeah. I think I want to answer that, and I got one last question. I know we're wrapping up. We actually went. I mean, I feel like we could have went on for another 2 hours, but and we didn't even hit half the stuff we were going to talk about. But I wanted to answer that one too. When you talk about, I think what especially small fence companies and small businesses need to stop doing is stop hiring people when you're desperate. And, do it when you don't need it. Start interviewing and start finding the right person when you don't need it. Because hiring people is kind of like going to a bank and trying to borrow money when you need it. Right. And that's the worst time to borrow money. Banks hate to loan you money when you need it. So you got to go and set up your lines of credit, set up stuff, and you got to go and figure out what you're going to do when you don't. Right. And that's when you do your expansion. And that's when in the right time to expand your company would be the right time as well to start looking at when you're going to hire new people on and then fill the positions. That's just my personal thing, is don't hire when you're desperate, spend the time. And then I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. And because the desperate hires are the worst, you always regret it later on. You may fill a position for that month or two, and then you're like, how do I get rid of this guy after he's arranged in your company? Great. So Charlie, I did want to ask you, okay, so if somebody was to come to the fence show and they're going to go to your classes and go into one of your classes for that 45 minutes. I think there's a couple of 45-minute to an hour-long classes. What are they going to leave there looking at their businesses differently? And they're going to look at the business differently because of what?
Well, I think what they're going to look at differently is themselves first and foremost, right? If it's your company, how are you branding, positioning, and differentiating yourself? Because essentially, if you're a business owner, your business is a reflection of you, right? At the end of the day, you're a businessman, right? Yep. You're a man that owns a business, and you're the brand called you. So that's number one. Number two, can you answer a simple question that when someone says, "What do you do?" Right? You can have a conversation that converts. Right? If someone says, "What do you do?" there's interest.
Yep.
And that person becoming conscious of knowing what you do. Now, if I meet you and I say, "I'm a plumber," well, you might not need a plumber. If you say, "Cool, nice to meet you," and you walk away,
Yep.
you just really probably did me a favor. Now, could you need a plumber one day? Yep, probably. Yep. But again, I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to beg. But if you say, "Oh, I own 20 units. My plumber's been dropping the ball.
Yep.
Do you have a card?" Right? Boom. Now you're presenting on purpose. So you just don't want to transfer information. You want to build the relationship. Relay. You're relaying information. What does that mean? You're passing some stuff back and forth, right? The sale starts through words, right? Words trigger pictures, which trigger emotions, which lead to action steps.
Yep.
Right? So based upon what you say, the sale starts in the mind with that prospect. So what you're going to leave with is what I'm calling a infrastructure. Now, I'll give you the very basic yellow brick road concept. How do you introduce, build rapport, and gain credibility? Right? You're going to know how to introduce yourself. Therefore, your salespeople and representatives are going to know how to introduce themselves. They're going to know how to build rapport and gain credibility quickly. Why someone's in front of them. Not be a social misfit, right? They're going to engage in the art of human connection. And then they're going to learn how to identify a problem quickly. Does Brian need a new cowboy hat? I'm your guy, right? Charlie's cowboy hats. But talk is cheap, so I've got to show Brian the truth, authenticity, and proof that I can deliver. And if he says, I think I want a new hat, Brian, click that button right there. I'm either going to have Brian looking at my hats or invite him into my Mad Hattery, right, to get sized up and show him the different fabrics that we can potentially make a new custom hat for him. But I'm going to book the appointment on the spot and then allow him to have a leave behind where I'm going to be remembered and be top of mind. So you would leave with how-tos, not concept or theory. You're going to leave with actual how-tos so you can go back to wherever you came from and put these into your business. And quite honestly, most people that engage at a conference, usually they'll come back to me the next day and go, "Dude, I've come to this show 3 times. I just met 2 new suppliers and a guy that I didn't even know lived a half a mile from me, and we're going to start collaborating and sending leads back and forth to each other because I don't do pool fences and he does, and I'm going to take a piece of those deals now." Whatever. So that's what you would leave with. You would leave with an infrastructure of process that you can take back to your business and implement.
There you guys go. And I've sat through, like I said, them, and me and Charlie have talked just hours now. I mean, we've talked forever on things. So you can't learn enough from Charlie. Just sitting with you for a moment is, it's amazing. It's amazing the amount of knowledge that we get to share and what you're willing to share and absorb from people as well. So really cool. Looking forward to. So everybody that's listening, Charlie's going to be teaching Expose and Close and your newest book, which is Revenue Infrastructure. Right? For fence companies. And it's all going to be part of the Full Throttle education at the Fence Show. So if you're interested in getting more of this, go to fenceshow.com, get registered, click on that event for the 2026 Fence Show. Get those Full Throttle passes. If you're interested in volunteering, again, click the volunteer button. We really want to keep this show. It was started for the industry. We want the industry to continue being the ones that control it and run it and keep the vibe going and the energy. Charlie, thanks for coming on, man. It was really cool. Yeah, it was always fun. Sasha, I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you a little bit later today still.
Cool. Absolutely.
And, hey, tell everybody, though, real quick before we go, what you're doing up there in Reno.
Well, so we're 2 stupid fence guys that decided we'd try to race some cars. So we're actually doing Reno to Vegas. It's back to front. Used to be the longest race in America. So we're here with a trophy truck and a team, and we're going to race this thing from Reno to Vegas and hopefully make it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So they just qualified 6 out of 20?
Yeah, so in our class, we qualified 6 out of 20. There's just under 30 in our class, and we qualified 6, and we're only behind number 1 by, I want to say, 9 seconds. So really fast pace. So look, hopefully you can make it to the end. It's a 500-mile plus race, and it's with desert racing, it's non-stop. There's no sections. You start and you go all night till you get there at the end. So
Yeah, it's awesome. So I know you're sitting in your one of your motorhomes right now out there in the middle of the desert. So we appreciate you taking the time and coming on. Probably connected to some Starlink or something out there, right?
Oh yeah, we got Starlink going. Yeah, so everyone's looking through the window. I was surprised you didn't hear all the trophy trucks driving by, and because today is technical, where we have to take the cars downtown. Reno is completely blocked, and the cars are all. There's 400 races. It's a big race. There's 400 entries, and it's motorbikes as well. So it's a pretty big one. So all the cars have got to get checked, make sure. So that's going on right now. So there's a lot of noise right next to my apartment.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for taking the time in the middle of that, Charlie. We'll be talking to you. Well, you're going to be down. I'm actually down in California. Hopefully I get to see you when you come down. So we'll talk to you guys. Everybody that's tuning in, thank you for taking the time. If you're watching this live, I appreciate that. If you're watching it later, we appreciate that too. Do us a favor though, like, follow, and share it, because that does help us get even more traction on everything that we're doing. Appreciate you guys. We will see you next week. Same time, Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, or hopefully we'll see you at the Fence Show in October 5th to the 9th. 7th to the 9th is the Expo Hall, and the education starts on the 5th. Everybody, thank you guys. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
FWA, it's time to go full throttle. Fence Show, October 7th through 9th. Go to fenceshow.com to register now. Make sure to check out our podcast, FWA.